Hi folks, thanks for joining me for this week's river tutorial. I was reminded last week while fishing the tees how important it is to have wet flies in your armoury. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the vise then is a Hanak 260 barbless hook. It's at size 12. It's a heavy wire hook and it's in black nickel. Now the size 12 is very small on the 260, so it's more akin to a 14 on most other hooks. The thread I'm going to be starting with initially is from UTC. It's the yellow thread and it's at 140 denier. Now first thing I'm going to do is just get a little bit of wax onto the start of my thread, and I'm going to start it approximately, and this is an important part, it's usually not too important, but this is, so I'm starting way back from the eye and I've just got 2 or 3 turns in there, and I'm going to remove my waste. The wire rib I'm using is the Danvilles. It's fine wire, as you can see it's a gold colour, and I've already got a little piece off here that I've been working with, and I'm going to come in and where I've just snipped my waste away, I'm going to capture that in and then use the wire as a guide to come down the shank of the hook. Now as I'm coming back up, I just want to make sure that I'm getting nice touch and turns all the way up. Now although I'm using yellow thread here, when it's in the water it does appear olive, and that's the same with any sort of still water patterns you're doing. Yellow's a great colour for imitating olive. So I've got to the end of my body. I'm just going to cast off my thread by whip finishing. Just a 3 turn. Then I can remove that. Next I'm going to come in with some Semperfli 1800 Nano silk, and again a little bit of wax just onto the Nano silk, just to help me get a little bit of purchase initially, and then I can come up and I'm going to come over my yellow body up to about 1/4 of an inch from the eye of the hook. Remove the waste. Then I can bring my rib in the opposite direction to the way my thread went. Nice and close, so only a couple of millimeters between wire wraps. As I get up near the thorax area I can be less fussy, as I'm going to lock that into place like so. Now I'm being a bit precise with my thread because I want to use that as a mark. Once you've got it tied down, you can remove your wire rib by simply twisting it away. He says it's been reluctant. Now at this point I can leave it as is and I could carry on tying the fly, but what I like to do, just to add a little bit of weight to the fly, is I just coat the body with a little bit of UV resin. Not a lot. It does a couple of things, this actually. It adds a slight bit of weight to the fly, and also it protects the wire rib from fish. So if you don't do this, what tends to happen, unless you've done a really good tight job of your ribbing, is the fish will end up moving all the wire and sometimes breaking it. So make sure you cure that off. And that should do it. Next then, I'm going to add my thorax material. And what I'm using is some dyed Peacock Herl. So this one's been dyed black. I've got a string of it here, as you see, and I'm just going to select a feather from the bottom, and what I want is the widest part. So I'm going to take away this as waste and then add that to the thorax area. Again, I'm stopping my thread well back from the eye, and what I'm going to do every time I turn the Peacock Herl is sweep it back, just like you would any kind of dubbing, really. And then when I've got it to where I want it, which is about 1/8 of an inch from the eye, well, more like a couple of millimeters actually, it's not quite 1/8 of an inch, bring it into place, capture that in. Now Peacock Herl is very fragile, so that will just pull away, no problem for you. So far so good. So next, for the hackle of this fly, I'm just using a bit of Grizzle cape feather, which I've already taken off and prepared. So what do I mean by prepared? Well, basically I've pulled all the feathers out with my fingers like so, and as you can see, I've stripped away one side, which is a bit of a time consuming job, but if you do it before you start like I have, it just speeds the whole process up. So I'm going to just get it so I can tie in my tag, and before doing so I'm going to come in a little bit of wax just to help secure that in place. So 1, 2, 3, then pull your tag behind and a couple of turns in front. Then you can come in with your snips and simply remove that tag. Okay, now you can leave your feather on to give you a much bushier fly, but if you want it sparse, then I just give it 2 turns with this. So there's the first turn, come round again, 2 turns. Next I can come in with my thread, try and not capture many of the fibres of the hackle in because you've not used very many, and don't be worrying at this point that the hackle seems to be going forward, because we're going to sort that out once we tie in the head. So I've now secured the feather. What I want to do next is lick my thumb and forefinger in my left hand, slick it all back out the way, and then just start to build my head. Don't want a huge head, it's a very small fly at the end of the day. Now don't be tempted to hold your thread and pull this, because this Grizzle hackle is quite tough, so it's always best to just come in with your snips and take away the excess. Now once you've done that, you can concentrate on building a nice neat head. Like so. And I always like to add a little bit of resin to my thread before I whip finish. It saves the job later. And this is the Solaris bone dry resin. I always get asked because the label's obviously melted off over time, but that's what it is. Then I can come in with my whip finish tool and crack the head. Now I like to just cure it before I come in with the scissors, because if you come in before you cure it, you end up smudging all the resin, and you don't want that. It just doesn't look as nice. Then remove your thread, and there we have the finished article. Great little fly. As I said, it may look yellow to the camera, but when you fish it, it does appear olive in the water. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please think about clicking the subscribe button. I would very much appreciate it.